Hello and welcome to some more Age of Empires 3D. We've got a casted set of play all three games from the Sunbros 1v1 tournament. Tonight we have Mazen, Captain Mazen in game here in the blue, starting off with Portugal on this map of Arctic territories, and they are up against Co-Defender playing as Mexico. Mexico, of course, the most fun you can have in Age of Empires 3. There you go. I've said it. They're the best, the most fun civ in the game. Co-Defender, who I'm going to be calling Code because that's what I wrote down in my notes. A very chalk and cheese matchup, I would say. Portugal, of course, there's the new Portugal FF meta, but a very kind of boomy civ, not a very rushy civ, all about the timing, expecting to see a lot of H3 play. Mexico, I always think of them as an H2 civ, of course. You can FF with Mexico and you can do the revolutions, which is sort of H2, sort of H2.5, sort of H3. So very excited to see what they come up with from Mexico. So it looks like Mexico opening up with a TP, so they've gathered 100 wood for the house. That's going down, now it's everyone over to food. 10-10, so they're just going to be able to send the villagers in right in time. And the deck name has unfortunately given away what we can expect. It's Rio Grande coming up from Mexico. Hop over and check in on Portugal. Portugal FF. Not too surprising, and opening up with Vitorias, and it looks like it's a 10-10 FF as well because we haven't got a house down yet and everyone's going for food. And Portugal also opening up with a TP. I have to admit, I'm not sure how common that is these days. Is that how the current meta FF goes with a TP? I imagine it might be, since if you're going to 10-10, you might as well go for the TP. Maz rejecting this 80 coin. Might have just caught a glimpse of that treasure being snagged by Mexico. That was just 40 XP. Now Code going for another 80 XP, so big XP boost for them. Of course, we know from the deck name that that Code is at least thinking about going for Rio Grande. Just in case you don't know what that means, it means we're going to be going to H3 and then revolting to get that big power spike. You get the free guard upgrades, you get the 3 Falcons card, which is really significant. You can get a factory as well. It's basically a bit like having an old school basic ass European revolt, but available an age earlier because you can go there from fortress rather than industrial. So I'm expecting to see 700 coin come in on the age up. Looks like we've got 195 gold in, so I need to pick up another 105 in a minute. It's maybe waiting to see if they find any handy treasures for that. Oh, this is a little bit interesting. So Portugal's explorer camping out this polar bear that Code has been microing. Polar bears are big chunky units with a lot of HP, so fighting them by hand is quite an undertaking. Portugal eventually going for the sharp shot and going to be able to steal that 130 XP. It's not the end of the world. Mexico got quite a bit of XP already. Portugal, by virtue of going 10-10, have got the age up in first. Managed to go 12-10. Don't actually recognize how they've managed to get the 2 extra villagers. Oh, probably from the age up. Of course, it will be the naturalist age up, so the cow as well. We'll check on Mexico's age up. It's Mikosian, which I think is the fishing boats. That's a little bit surprising because there is no fishing available on this map, even though it looks like there would be. Lovely Arctic waters with the sort of raindrop effect drifting through them that makes you think you've got something wrong with your PC monitor. Mexico, I'm sort of not following this too closely because we know how Rio Grande goes. 700 coin coming in, followed by 700 wood. It is the 3 fishing boats, can't send those. But potentially could be interested in 500 XP and the spy ability. Oh, also gives a permanent line of sight bonus. That's not to be sniffed at. I was playing some Spain the other day and I tried out the Inquisition card that gives you a massive line of sight bonus. And it's actually very useful. It can really make the difference in terms of spotting, the enemy army a bit quicker, spotting some villagers when you're scouting around for a raid. So, yeah, I wonder if we might see that. Probably not, though. Mexican Age 2 choices are mostly just there as a sort of pivot. You don't normally go sending them. Portugal, sending in the 700 wood, already on the way to Fortress themselves, going up with the Markmen, so going to get 8 Cazadors, I think it is. Have got the Mexican heroes out sieging their TP, but it's going to be quite a while before that's anything to worry about. I think those two are just there really to sort of gauge the temperature and see if there's any Age 2 army around that's going to put them in their place. Going for a market. Try and check a villager. Find out. So just 92, which I think is just hunting dogs from the market so far. Sieging continues. The Mexican hacienda is right up at the front, unchallenged. Of course, we're assuming that Mazen will have seen this hacienda. Mazen might have seen this hacienda, might have seen this Mexican deck, which does have a lot of Age 2 units in it. Has this very much only a card you'd send if you were going for a big Age 2 rush, this Machetes card, and might be worried that that's exactly what they're going to be facing here. Some big Age 2 rushy pressure from Mexico. Interestingly, hiding away the military wagon. So the intention there is that military wagon is going to be used as the artillery foundry. Could just put the artillery foundry down in some obscure corner of the map. Could put it in base. Portugal aren't really challenging the base. But actually choosing to keep it hidden. Oh, of course, can't put the artillery foundry wagon down until they reach A3, so that's why they're saving it away in the corner. I'm not sure. I'd be tempted just to keep it at home, I think. If the opponent figures out you're saving it, then they'll probably guess why anyway. I guess it's probably a tad safer out there. Portugal are never going to come looking for you out there. So, Cazadors are in. Mexico know that those are on the table. That's what they need to be thinking about when they get up. This is a crucial time for Mexico now because they're just about to arrive in Age 3. They've got 2 shipments available. They want to save as many shipments as possible for after they revolt, because Rio Grande has loads of really good shipments. Particular, just better numbers. I think they have 8 or 9 soldados, they have 8 dragoons, they have 3 falconets, so much better value than you're going to get from your shipments before revolting. Need to gather up the resources to be ready to revolt. At the moment they're quite a way off on this macro. I wonder if they've got a market. They haven't, but they are going to get a gold injection from the age up, of course. I wonder if they aged up. Aged up with Tabasco. That's kind of interesting. Don't see that often. That does give them the option for this Salteador card. Oh, and that was a really, really quick. I swear I looked 30 seconds ago and they were missing the wood they needed for the revolution. Oh, it's only 700, isn't it? It's not 1,000. Sorry, I got getting a bit confused there. So Rio Grande is in. Hacienda's getting sieged. We've got the squad of revolutionaries from being Rio Grande. That is all Mexico has in the world right now in terms of assets, so they're still a little bit vulnerable. Probably sensibly going to be shipping in these 16 revolutionaries to start before the 3 falconets as well. Could be worried that this goon mass could potentially dive in Nelly on the falconets and take them all out. I mean, Skirm, it's Musfalt versus Skirmdoon, and Skirmdoon will do okay against this. It's definitely, Rio Grande is sort of become a bit legendary in the meta. I think people are very scared of it, but I do think that Portugal have got a good chance of doing something here, of turning it around. They're going to need plenty of cash to deal with these revolutionaries, but they're also going to want to have plenty of goons to take care of the falcons that I'm sure they will be expecting. If we look over to Mexico, the falcons are almost in. Oh, this is going to be a tasty moment for Mexico because it's just infantry out there. Those falcons can go to town. Now, Portugal kind of swinging the cavalry in. I really think... I'm not sure Portugal should be taking this fight. I really think against Rio Grande you want to stall as long as possible. And look, this isn't great value. An awful lot of units were traded for just one out of those 3 falconets. And I'd say things are really looking good for Mexico after that trade. Yeah, Portugal have the advantage though. They have an economy to back this up. They have their shipments, they can train units, they're training some Huss from the stable, which is kind of interesting, presumably just focusing on sniping down the falcons. You know, they have all their villagers, they have their economy going, although right now 20 units are garrisoned. Could probably have snuck a number of villagers away and kept them working out here like this one is. It almost feels like Portugal might have given up after that first encounter. In quite a bit of trouble now because I think another shipment came in, the mass of Mexican revolutionaries. Up to 44 now. These revolutionaries, they're basically like veteran musketeer kind of level, 180 HP, slightly less attack, but a multiplier against cavalry. Makes them better than normal musketeers against these dragoons. And indeed able to finish off these dragoons. Falconet count, there's still 1 falconet alive, so these casques can't really get involved properly. They're having to be in stagger mode and scuttle about. Another squad of 16 revolutionaries coming in. A shipment curve for Mexico looking absolutely horrible, and I think it's pretty much curtains now for Portugal. They're going to put some villages in this town centre and try and hold out there, but yeah, I think Portugal probably wanted to stall a bit longer. Maybe some culverins would have been really valuable here. Diving in those dragoons, just getting one of the falcons, it wasn't good. And yeah, it's a tricky thing to fight Rio Grande. I've got a lot of sympathy for Maz's position. I think unfortunately took that fight a little bit too early. Probably not the case that as Portugal you want to get in front, try and get in front of the Rio Grande revolt and do the damage before it happens. So I needed maybe to turtle up a little bit more, maybe to just wait a little bit longer and try and postpone things as long as possible. But now we're seeing those final houses getting sieged down. I mean, there's a bit of an attempt to come back down here. We've got another town centre. We've got another stable. That's pretty good. There's an opportunity for Portugal to come back because Mexico are running on just shipments now, pure shipments. Each one will be more expensive than the last. Pretty much the only shipment it seems Code is interested in sending is the 16 revs. That's kind of a bit of a shame, I think. 9 soldos can be interesting. 8 dragoons could be fun against the Portuguese dragoons. But I kind of get like these revolutionaries are really good and they're providing a lot of value. They're effectively veteran, none of your other units are. Of course, the falconets have been field guns this whole time. I didn't point that out, but the artillery foundry in the corner meant that the guard upgrade for field guns came in. A solitary 1 revolutionary able to be trained. I think that's the food from the hacienda. No real reason the hacienda couldn't be producing settlers. Oh, and indeed now it is, just to give the situation a bit of longevity. But I think we're getting towards the end of this game here because the second Portuguese base is now getting pushed into. Portugal absolutely not ready to try and resist this push. Plenty of settlers going down. Minutemen coming out on the Falk. That's pretty nice. They probably will get that Falk. I think they can catch up with it. 4v4? Maybe not, but the Falk has to stop eventually. But this, yeah, horde of revolutionaries. And Portugal haven't got anything to answer it with, unfortunately. Seeing a last stand here down on the edge of this map at the mine by the shoreline of Arctic territories. It's not often you get to see a lot of action down in this part of the map. And now the factory coming in for Rio Grande. That's really nice. What have Rio Grande got in terms of sustain? Obviously they got the factory. They got an infinite 8 settlers card. I think that's really interesting. So you could potentially, you know, how many times have we seen the revolutionaries come out? I think as the GG comes in, I think at least 4 uses of that 16 revolutionary shipment. Could potentially have restored that eco back to 32 villages. I think that would be a wild build order, just to be clear. I'm not suggesting it's any good whatsoever. But that was Rio Grande, pretty much played by the book. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, really. See how many villages Portugal got up to. So Portugal up to just 21 villages. I guess that's the cost of doing the FF. In terms of military power, yeah, they were pretty much equal, but the shipments start coming in. I guess maybe that's why Portugal were trying to push that Hacienda, and maybe if the Hacienda had gone down, things would have been different because the shipments have to come from further away. But I still think with sort of 4 or so shipments available right at the beginning of that revolt, it was a really tough ask for Maz. Yeah, that's our game 1. Stand by for more from this set. It is a play all 3. And for now, I'll say GG.